Good evening. You're watching Ukraine Brief on TVP World. It has been 1,380 days since Russia began its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. I'm Marie Caso, and here's the latest. At least 5 people have been killed and more than 36 others injured in Russian attacks across Ukraine over the past day. Russia launched 138 drones and 2 ballistic missiles, with Ukrainian air defenses intercepting 114 of the drones. 24 drones and ballistic missiles struck 14 locations, according to Ukraine's report. On the evening of December 3rd, Russian forces hit Kryvyi with an Iskander-M ballistic missile. The attack damaged apartment blocks and private homes. According to today's information, at least 6 people were reported wounded, including a 3-year-old child. In the Donetsk region, 2 people were killed and 1 was wounded in Konstantinivka. And in Slovyansk, at least 8 people, including 2 children, were injured after a Russian airstrike hit the city. The attack caused significant destruction in residential areas, damaging more than 10 apartment buildings, dozens of private houses, shops and cars. This is the aftermath of the attacks, an entire district almost left in ruins. Russian forces dropped 9 aerial bombs on Slovyansk, one of which struck a residential building. At least 7 people were wounded in the southern city of Odessa after Russian drone strikes hit a high-rise residential block and an energy infrastructure facility. According to the regional governor, 2 people trapped in their apartments by the blast wave were rescued. Among the injured was an energy worker who was hospitalized in serious condition. The Ukrainian energy company Detek said Russian attacks on the region had left more than 50,000 households without power. Russian forces also attacked the Kherson, Zaporizhia and Kharkiv regions. In Kherson, the strikes killed 3 people, including a child, and wounded 7. According to the regional governor, as of this morning, 40,500 residents, about half of Kherson's population, are without heating after the central plant was intensely attacked by Russian drones, artillery and other weapons, causing serious damage. The Ukrainian delegation is headed to Miami today to meet with President Trump's special envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, following their return from a meeting with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. With the negotiations between senior U.S. and Russian officials in Moscow having ended on Tuesday, Witkoff and Kushner are to meet with their Ukrainian counterparts on Thursday to discuss the proposed peace deal. The Ukrainian side will be headed by Rustem Umerov, Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, as well as Andriy Khnatov, the head of the General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces. This comes as President Zelensky said on December 3rd that Ukrainians can expect news in the coming days on the status of the peace talks. President Emmanuel Macron met with China's Xi Jinping, calling on Beijing to play a more active role in securing a ceasefire in Ukraine.
I hope that China could join our call and our efforts to achieve at the earliest possibility, at the very least, a ceasefire in the form of a moratorium of strikes targeting critical infrastructure. This is key for the coming winter, as civilian infrastructure, in particular energy infrastructure, is still under Russian fire today. But more broadly, we must work together to achieve a just and lasting peace, which respects international law.
Testifying before the U.S. Senate on December 3rd, Kateryna Rashevska, a legal expert at the Regional Center for Human Rights, said that there had been at least 2 instances of Ukrainian children being abducted and forcibly sent to camps in North Korea.
My organization documented 165 re-education camps where Ukrainian children are militarized and Russified. These camps exist in occupied territories in Russia, in Belarus, and in North Korea. In this photo, you can see 12-year-old Misha from the occupied Donetsk region. And in this one, 16-year-old Lisa from occupied Simferopol. They were sent to the Sondovon camp in the North Korea, 9,000 kilometers from home. Russification and militarization cause severe trauma and violate children's dignity. At 17, boys received draft notices into the Russian army. The ultimate goal is clear and quite genocidal: to make Ukrainians kill each other.
With Russian forces breaching the city of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region, Ukrainian troops are now fighting to avoid encirclement in the nearby city of Mirnogorod. Ukrainian units continued a controlled pullback from Pokrovsk as Russian forces pushed deeper into the city. To the east, in the nearby city of Mirnokhrad, Russian pincers have all but closed. And while mapping source Deep State still shows a narrow corridor remaining, any attempt to move troops through it now is increasingly exposed to direct clashes with Russian units. On Mirnokhrad's southern and eastern flanks, Ukrainian brigades are still holding the line, though Russian infiltration teams have entered parts of the city. With the last land corridor effectively cut since October, Ukrainian units have relied entirely on drones and unmanned ground vehicles to move supplies to frontline troops. Describing the situation, a member of Ukraine's 38th Marine Brigade stationed in Mirnokhrad told reporters it is now nearly impossible for troops to enter or exit the city. Authorities in the western city of Lviv are investigating a deadly attack of a draft officer during what officials described as a check on the suspect's mobilization status and identity documents. Ukraine's military said an officer was fatally stabbed on Wednesday after a man refused to show his papers and turned violent in central Lviv. The officer suffered a critical wound and later died in hospital. The attacker also assaulted other officers before fleeing. Police say the suspect, a 37-year-old local resident, has now been detained. And that's Ukraine Brief for today. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more on TVP World and tvpworld.com. Goodbye.